Emperor, we come for you! We come for you!
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
Long live the fighters!
You know, if only people knew how ghetto this show actually was.
Oh, they know. Trust me.
Oh.
Who are you fooling?
Hello, interwebs, and welcome to another episode of Fusion Underground. This is episode 63, and here at the Fusion Underground, what we try to do is we try to make sense of the world by having principled discussions about such topics as entertainment, current events, politics, and culture. Our mission is to educate people to become critical thinkers so they can live more empowered and happier lives. And to do that, we are talking about the sexes on this crazy special series of episodes that we've been doing now. This is what, our third one?
This is our third one, yes.
On the session, yeah. So we're
Of
trying.
the sexes, not of the sexes, like as in having lots of. Sexes, as in male
Right,
and female.
as in male and female, of the genders, the sex wars, if
Yes.
you will, so to speak.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah, we're really trying to help people with this series.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yes, we are. Sorry, I heard the first part. We're trying. We're really trying. We've always been really, really trying
Right.
with what we're doing here. But yes, in particular with this series, we are trying to put our best foot forward and make a conscientious effort to educate people.
Yeah.
And
I'm getting ready for Sun
way.
Devil football.
Good
Wearing
for
all
you.
of my maroon and gold here. You got maroon and gold hanging in the back?
Yeah, I got maroon and gold.
See?
It's actually burgundy gold. Thank you very much. Not
Whatever.
maroon and gold.
It's maroon and gold.
You shut up with your scum devil crap.
Go Devils.
No. Sorry, just no retort. Just no.
Just no. They'll probably biff it again and they'll break my heart, but whatever.
Oh, you'll get over it like you do every single season.
Every season
since the beginning of time.
Give them hell, Devils.
Bear down, cats.
Yeah.
There you go.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much. We are going to talk about sex, the actual act of.
See, aren't you glad I clarified this earlier?
Yeah. We're actually going to talk about sex on this one because we're continuing our whole series. Now, for those who have not yet gone back and listened to the first two episodes of this series, this is, what did we say? What episode did we say this was? 63. So if you go back to episode 61, where we kicked this whole thing off, we've been talking about a book that's called For Women Only.
Which we are reviewing as two dudes. Also important to clarify.
Right.
Yes.
As two dudes. And for those who don't know, just a brief recap of the book. We discovered this book, and what's interesting about this book, it's actually written to women to educate them on what happens in the minds of us men.
Correct.
And how men are actually a little bit more complicated for women to understand than previously thought. I'm not saying overly complicated.
No, and I can appreciate what you're saying, but I don't know that I agree with the word complicated. I don't think we're complicated at all. I think there are misconceptions about the male psyche.
But would it be fair that maybe to women might perceive men as being a little bit more complicated than what they originally thought? We're very simple. I think we're very simple.
We are incredibly simple creatures.
Yeah.
Absolutely simple creatures. And I think women like to believe that their man is more complicated and that's why they can't figure us out. But really we're not. You just
right.
you're
And
just looking
maybe
at the situation incorrectly.
and maybe women are, maybe if there were women listening to this thinking, oh yeah, men really are simple, but maybe you've actually oversimplified it a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe, you know, there could be an oversimplification there.
Well,
I don't know.
I think what this actually does is reveal, and that's why she called it 8 revelations, really is what she goes over, into the insight of men, where I think women believe that there are things that men just are either not a big deal and men should be able to just get over
Right.
or change or think differently. What I think Shanti Feldon actually gets into is recognizing that these 8 key components are hardwired into the male brain. And they truly are. And this is backed up by not only physiology, but also psychology.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it's a great book because I gave a lot of, it gives a lot of insight into how men think, or at least approach different major, I don't want to say major either, but just very common things that happen in relationships. And she kind of peels back the onion, so to speak, to kind of explain what men are going through, because us men don't really talk about these things. And in fact, the reason why we don't talk about them is because, well, quite honestly, we don't know how to talk about these things.
we don't know how, or we're dudes, so we're
Yeah.
a little bit slow sometimes.
Yeah. All
um
the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
most of the time. And for most of us, we probably knew all of these things but didn't recognize them as being core parts of our being. I think
Right.
you put it best. You thought you were weird for feeling this way in some respects. So
Yeah.
before we kick off into this, why don't we go through at least the 4 we've already covered so far, just
Do
real
you
briefly.
do you have them up on
Yep,
your
I
side?
sure do.
All right, go for it.
So, revelation number 1, men need respect. And
Huge.
and this is absolutely key. Probably more, I'm going to say, I
Than any of
think,
them.
if than any of these other 7. If
Yeah.
a woman were to recognize this as a key value for a man, it will save a marriage.
Right. And
It-
the key thing about that was so big for me in that particular revelation is that um, the feeling of love is just the opposite side of the coin of respect. So they go hand in hand.
right.
That in essence, if men are not feeling respected, then they're not feeling loved in a relationship. So that was huge.
Correct.
What's the next one?
Correct. The next one is men are insecure. That's the excuse me, the perception. Really, men deal with constant feelings of inadequacy.
Yeah, we're really faking it a lot of the time,
Yep.
or we think we are.
Right.
Many of the time.
The next was the false perception is men need or check out in difficult situations, when in reality men actually need to process information
Yeah.
individually and then return to and re-engage.
Right. So when you get into an argument, when your man says, "I'm out of here. I got to get out of here." Right? There are two things that men feel, and that is either the fight or flight response. And we don't want to fight with you because we know that that's going to lead to dark things. If we fight, we might say something we're going to regret or whatever. So we want to withdraw, and we need to think about it. And often women try to hold that against us and say, "Don't be a child, and stand here and let's talk it out." And women want to talk through those things. And men, the best way to at least communicate better with your spouse is to say, "Hey, you know what? We're good. I love you, but give me an hour or two to get over the anger, and then I'll be able to tell you what I actually think."
Right,
And what
right.
I'm
It's
actually feeling.
essentially stimulation overload for
Correct.
men's very simple processing components in their brain.
Yeah.
And they need to be able to back out to clean the slate and reprocess everything.
Right.
So, and then the last one that we covered was the mental burden that men go through taking on the provider role.
Yes, huge. Men
And
want to provide. We need to provide.
and how many different aspects of their lives that actually consumes, and how much of their mental faculties that actually consumes, and is in even in little things, as far as going to the grocery store or
Yeah.
fixing a door handle, or everything that ever happens, it's a man's way to provide.
Right.
And so that can be very consuming.
Very consuming.
So those are
and
the ones we've covered thus far.
even if the wife, the spouse, even if she makes plenty of money, there's always going to be that inherent need in a male to provide for his family, to provide something to, because we don't want to sit around and not provide on some level. So we have this undying need. So you have to cut your guy a little bit of slack, or at least recognize that need. And often women don't necessarily want the guy to be working so hard, but you need to communicate that to him so that he knows it's okay to back down and not spend so much time working.
Right. And I didn't mention this, at least I don't think as well last week, but I do want to touch on this point real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Money is absolutely irrelevant to a man when it comes to providing.
Correct.
And what I mean by that is the money that he brings in is just a means. It's actually the act of providing that matters. I don't care if you have a stay-at-home father. He's still enacting his level of providing for the family, except now it's the cooking, cleaning, laundry, chores, housewife, all of the other stuff. He has to do that. And ladies, if you're one of those out there who you are the breadwinner and he is the one at home doing all that other work, I'm sure you can relate that there's times he's gone absolutely nuts when something threw off that normal household routine. It's because it's interfering in his job, in his role in being that provider for the family. Making the money does not matter.
Yeah.
So
good stuff there.
All right. So there's a recap.
Yeah.
What are we on to next, Dr. Ramirez?
Before we get into that, I've been receiving a lot of really good feedback about the last couple of episodes, about what we're talking about. A lot of folks are telling me they're sharing it with friends, and we are getting a lot of play from these episodes. It's not really why we did it.
No.
It's not why we did it, but it's kind of it's kind of neat to hear that. Well, one of the things that I just wanted to be able to clarify. Interesting thing happens when you're talking about these sorts of things. And this is how the internet works. The way the internet works is we talk about a particular topic and Jason and I will say, we really like watermelon. And then what happens, and it's happening with these series, somebody comes out and says, so you hate mango? I didn't even talk about mango. I'm talking about watermelon, and I'm talking about how much we love watermelon. And now, but you hate mangoes and you hate oranges. And what about apples? You don't like those either?
Are we being called women bashers?
I'm having to qualify the type of men that we're talking to, because what's happening is people are coming out and saying, well, there are men who are just lazy bastards. I'm not talking about those guys.
Well, then pick a different dude.
Right. Remember, ladies, you picked him.
Well,
you picked him. If you think your guy's an asshole, a jerk, or whatever, you picked him. Okay. First of all. But second of all, we're not talking about, on this show. Go ahead.
Let me help you. Let me try.
Please go ahead.
We are reviewing 2 books for women only and then for men only. Keeping in mind that this was written by a psychologist with the intent of giving this as a resource to help men and women in relationships strengthen those relationships. If anyone out there in the sound of our voice is in a relationship that they have no interest in strengthening, then this series is probably not for you. And that's not a judgment thing, but that's okay.
That's okay.
But even if this is not for you and you think that your significant other is just a lazy low life and this isn't going to benefit you, then either choose to listen to this so that you have a better understanding of the opposite sex as well as yourself, and take that information in as a positive thing, or simply tune out. That's okay. No judgment on our end. But maybe we haven't qualified that's the whole point of why these books were, I think, essentially written, and why we are choosing to actually review them.
But that's and you're absolutely right. I totally agree with everything you said. But what I was trying to say is that we're talking to good people. We're talking. We're gonna do the second book that Shanti Feldhahn wrote, where she's unwrapping women for men. She's talking, or actually her husband, through his voice, he's talking to men about how women think and act and process things in their minds. But look, we're assuming that we have two people in a relationship that are good people. There's a difference there. I'm not talking about the relationship where the husband is addicted to crack cocaine, is an alcoholic, beats his wife. That's already not a good guy. He's already, there's a completely different set of issues that are going on there. I'm trying to talk to those people about the men that are good, decent, hardworking men out there. That's who we're talking to. So when people come to me and say, well, what about the alcoholic, abusive, husband? I'm not talking to them. That's a whole other set of issues that are going on. We're talking about God-fearing, hardworking, decent, law-abiding men who are doing their best to be part of a relationship, who want to love their wives or their girlfriends, etc., and who want to care and provide for their family. That's who we're talking about. And we're going to flip that, and we're going to assume the same type of thing when we talk about women and what women are thinking about.
Correct.
So I just wanted to kind of get that off my chest.
Very good. Off your chest. Very good.
All right.
And keeping in mind, we're two dudes.
We're just two dudes. What the hell do we know?
Well, no, hold on. I wasn't going to go that far. I'm simply saying there is only so much perspective we are going to be able to offer. And newsflash, it's going to come from the male perspective.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're a couple of guys. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a chick and I know how chicks think. Not going to happen. Right. Dr. Ramirez, maybe a little bit, but probably not going to happen either.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Okay.
So we're going to kick this one off with a section that everybody wants to talk about, and that is sex. Yes.
Sex.
Right?
Okay.
So to lay the groundwork, most people, and I think a lot of women perceive men this way, that we are just one gigantic testicle walking around. Two.
Well, two. Yeah. Most of us.
I have two.
Okay. Well, I wasn't asking. I just, most.
I do have a buddy who only has one. We won't get into that. John, I love you.
Oh, you don't never name drop, especially that is beyond John. I'm very sorry.
Which John? There are plenty of Johns. How many Johns do I know? Probably 10.
I don't know, but okay.
We're probably gonna get taken down for a HIPAA violation or something now.
Okay, moving on. So we're gonna be talking about sex.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about sex.
I do know that the misnomer is, at least as far as women understand, men want more sex.
Yes.
That's true, but the reality is men want to be desired.
Huge.
And that, I believe, is an incredible difference.
Yeah. It's tremendous. I want to read a little passage from the book here, because it's under this section in this chapter where Shanti says, sex fills a powerful emotional need. And the passage is this, quote, making love with you assures him, you, meaning his wife, talking to the woman, remember, making love with you assures him that you find him desirable, salves a deep sense of loneliness, and gives him the strength and well-being necessary to face the world with confidence. And of course, sex also makes him feel loved. In fact, he can't feel completely loved without it. At the most basic level, your man wants to be wanted. What did you think about that when you read that?
This was, I mean, this struck a bell with me so cleanly.
Yeah. It's tremendous for me.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah. Ladies, I'm trying to think of how to put this as eloquently as possible. Men want to have sex with you. That's
of course we do.
Reality. Of course we do.
Yeah.
Now, when this comes to, again, we're talking about the husband-wife relationship. your husband, unless there's, and I'm not talking about situations of infidelity, he wants to make love to you and only you, just like you do.
Yeah.
But he wants you to actively participate. He wants you to show interest as well. There is, I don't know very many anyway, guys out there that want a wife who is submissive and just gives up whenever he is interested. I hope that's making sense. He really does want you to want him. Keeping in mind, Revelation number 2, that man's always faced with this sense of inadequacy. This happens in the bedroom too. So you actually wanting and desiring him makes him feel wanted and desired. It's you're talking to the really the male ego, if you will, at that point. He actually feels it props him up, it lifts him up. Now he can conquer anything, and he can go, like you said before, he can go slay dragons for you because
Right.
he's ready to do that. You're actually fulfilling a sense of not want, and I don't want to keep saying desire over and over again, but when you're actually feeding that in him, he's propped up to do more for you.
Yeah.
And this
So-
isn't a quid pro quo either. I'm not saying that, but there is an incessant, ladies, I know you want your men to want you. You want to feel desirable. You want to feel sexy, and you want him to be attracted to you. Why would you think that would be any different for him? It
Right.
is not the man's job to initiate and to get the juices flowing and get the desire happening and getting all. Why is that's not his job? That's both of you together. You share that. So share that moment.
So I was in a and you know this. I'm gonna share this like an open book, because quite honestly, I've gone through a lot of self-realization when I was reading this book. I was in a relationship where our sex life just stopped, really came to a halt, and I was told, I kind of made a little comment about the lack of sex that we were having, and the response that I was given was, well, that's your job. Your job is the one to come on to me. And the response that I felt inside was, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to always be the one in pursuit. I'm not going to do that. And of course, so that just led to us never having sex anymore. And there was a part of me that felt terrible, but I couldn't square the way that I felt, and I thought that I was an outlier. And I thought, well, why not? Why shouldn't I always be pursuing? But it felt for me that if I was pursuing, that then all she's doing is giving it up for my gratification because I wanted it. And that wasn't a good place to be in. And then when I read this book, I read this chapter, and I thought, this explains it. I'm not alone here. I'm not the only guy here. Here's really interesting. This was based on a survey where she compiled all of this. And here's an interesting question that was asked on the survey. It says, with regard to sex, for some men, it is sufficient to be sexually gratified whenever they want. For other men, it is also important to feel wanted and desired by their wife. How important is it to you to also feel sexually desired by your wife? Choose one answer. And what was really interesting, 66% of respondents said very important. And 31% of respondents said somewhat important. So, I mean, you're talking 97% of the men surveyed, and this was given to thousands of men here. It's important for men to feel desired. And that is huge. And then the second question here, and then I'll give it over to you for your input here. The second question on this survey under this category said, imagine that your wife offers all the sex that you want, but does it reluctantly or simply to accommodate your sexual needs. Will you be sexually satisfied? Choose one. 26% of men said yes, they would be sexually satisfied. 74% said no. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. I don't I don't ever want to roll over in the middle of the night and start suggestively rubbing my back and have her turn to me and go, "Look, I'm tired, but if you really need to, fine, make it quick."
Right.
If I hear that, you know what's gonna happen? I'm like, well, forget it.
And I
Never
won't.
mind.
Right.
And I do think that's I don't think I'm alone. Actually,
Right.
reading this book, I know I'm not alone. Ladies, we're with you because we want to be with you. And we want to be with you in entirety. And sex is a part of that. I don't want to walk down the path of marriage and the path of life alone, or leading out ahead with you tugging along behind. And I don't think most men want that either. We want somebody who's going to be our partner that we can walk side and side, hand in hand with. And that includes in the bedroom.
Yeah. There was an interesting quote here from a man here that was interviewed by the author, and he said this: "When she says no, I feel that I am rejected. No is not no to sex, as she might feel. It is no to me as I am, and I am vulnerable, and I ask or initiate. It's plain and simple rejection." So when the wife says, "No, I don't want to have sex," a lot of men feel this way. A lot of men feel like you are literally rejecting us. And there's a reason why sex for men is important, because it is a way that that men feel loved and desired. But what's more important around it is that it gives men confidence. You know, we already talked about how we go out into the world and we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're often asked, you know, in our jobs to do things that we've never done before. And we realize, well, we got to figure out how to do that. A lot of things that we encounter on a daily basis, even if it's around the house, we don't know what the hell we're trying to do. And so when you couple that with a lack of desire from your own wife, you know, you're already vulnerable. And when you can feel vulnerable with your wife and know that she's got your back, it makes your man feel a tremendous amount of confidence to be able to go out into the world and do what he needs to do.
Right.
So you know, in talking about this, there are probably a bunch of people thinking, you know, listening to this saying, well, he just needs to get over that. Sex isn't everything. What do you say to that?
You're right. Sex isn't everything. But on the flip side, sex is a physical expression of intimacy, which actually relays emotion. I mean, so you take it from the female perspective. If your man said to you, "I don't want to be around you anymore," how badly would that hurt you? How deeply would that cut you? I'm assuming that would be incredibly hurtful.
Yeah.
And you would be washed with these feelings of, he doesn't love me anymore, he's found somebody else, you know, he wants to be separated, you know, I don't even know. When you say to a man, "No, I don't want to have sex with you," that's what you're saying. Or at least that's how his brain interprets it. Because if you don't want me physically, then you don't want me, period.
Yeah. And what I like about the book is it gives a flip side. So yes, we feel, you know, by having sex with our spouses, with our wives, we feel a greater sense of confidence. We feel desired. We feel that we can be vulnerable and be protected by our spouse. But the flip side to that is it can have severe psychological ramifications for men. This was one that was just absolutely heartbreaking. And this was words from one of the men who took this survey and participated in these focus group and interview sessions. And here's what this guy said. He said, "We've been married for a long time. I deeply regret and resent the lack of intimacy of nearly any kind for the duration of our marriage. I feel rejected, ineligible, insignificant, lonely, isolated, and abandoned as a result. Not having the interaction I anticipated prior to marriage is like a treasure lost and irretrievable. It causes deep resentment and hurt within me. This in turn fosters anger and feelings of alienation. I was that guy. I didn't say these words. These words are not mine, but I was that guy. And I was floored when I read this chapter, because you know, we are told that as men we shouldn't be as sexual beings as we are, that we shouldn't we shouldn't be there demanding sex from our wives, or if we are, you know, if we're walking around horny all the time, that says something negative about who we are as men, and that we're supposed to overcome that. Why? Because women don't necessarily place as much significance on sex as we do, although some women do. But this is the kind of emotional and psychological hurt that men can feel when they are not sexually active with their spouse. And it is heartbreaking. And especially when I read that, and I thought I'm this guy. I'm this guy here.
Yeah.
And that's not a good place to be.
No, I remember I was heartbroken reading those as well. Just imagining being in that place. And you know, I'm sitting here thinking that at best, this is a man headed for divorce. At worst, I mean, we're looking at the last words of somebody who's about to commit suicide. I mean, this is serious mental depression, and this is what happens. And I don't, I can feel the natural tendency out there for some people to say, well, just get over it. Yeah. That's not possible. Right. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but you've got to really, if ladies out there, please, for the love of God, listen to me. And men, I'm sure you can understand what Dr. Ramirez and I are talking about here, and relating to what Dr. Feldman's actually already written down. But sex is a vital part of a healthy relationship, and more than just for the relationship, it is a absolute necessity for the mental health and emotional health of the male involved.
Yeah.
Women can go without physical intimacy. They can. At least sex, when I say that, physical intimacy. Females can substitute other things like sitting on the couch and cuddling and holding hands. Men cannot do that. Yeah. Ladies, ladies, we love to be there with you and hold your hand and cuddle and snuggle and all of the other types. But sex is just as important, if not more, to a man than that. You have to recognize that. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying you have to acquiesce every friggin' time, but understand what can happen when the answer is always no, or that you say, fine, just get it over with. That's worse than a no.
Yeah.
Sex is important. Making your man feel like he is something and someone that you desire and you're still physically attracted to is just as important to him as it is to you that he show you he's still attracted to you and finds you desirous.
Yeah. So let's switch gears here and talk about the next thing that is important for understanding how men think.
Oh, yes.
And that is the visualness of men. We're visual creatures. But and more so than just like we have, you know, derogatorily speaking, most men will usually refer to it as a spank bank, right?
Okay.
We have like this treasure trove of porn happening in the back of our heads. All right. We do. We have, you know, there's like this, and we hate it.
Okay, hold on. Okay, stop. We need to stop and start this over, I think, before, because that will make sense in a moment. let's back up a couple steps.
Well, we had to drop the hammer and at least throw
You
with
dropped
the
it.
tease. But
You
yeah,
dropped
so
it.
let's
Okay.
so let's go back and set the
So
stage.
what Shanti actually talks about in this next chapter, the idea that men are visual. Yes, men are visual. Everything we see, we catalog visually. We respond to things visually. That's who we
Yeah.
are. But really, what she exposes or reveals in this chapter is that men consistently and constantly struggle versus images of lust.
Yes.
So when you see a commercial for Victoria's Secret
Yeah.
on TV, a man cannot, and ladies, go with me on this for just a minute, okay? Men cannot not look.
We have
It's
to look.
absolutely impossible.
It's
It is
yes.
in our brain. It happens. And I understand, ladies, well, just don't look. Why? It's not a matter
not
of not
possible.
looking.
Yeah.
I said, hey, ladies out there, let's take the wives who know your husband is a devoted husband and would never in a million years cheat on you.
Right.
I guarantee you've been out somewhere, whether it's a restaurant or a shopping mall or somewhere, and there's some gal in a skimpy outfit or just some attractive
noticed her.
lady.
He's noticed her.
He's seen her.
He's noticed her.
You have watched him watch her and then subsequently watched him consciously try to not look at her.
Right.
I mean, looking everywhere and just trying to focus on anything, and he's freaking out, and he knows exactly where she's at because he's looking everywhere but there because he's already seen it, and
Right.
that image has burned into his mind.
Right. The best are when we see them over here. It's like, I ain't looking. And she's like, are you checking her out? Nope.
Nope, not
But
looking.
I can totally
I
see
can
it over
totally
here in the
see her
corner
out
of
of
my
the side of my eye,
eye.
but I'm keeping a conscientious
I know
awareness
exactly
of where
it's
she's at,
Right.
so
And
that I don't accidentally catch a glimpse again.
And it's not lying if I say I'm not looking at her.
Right,
No, I'm
because
not
I'm
looking at her.
staring right face forward, wide-eyed and creepy looking,
Right.
because I'm not looking. And this is usually where your nervous and apprehensive guys would go, oh my God, honey, did you see that? She was
Right.
dressed in skimpy? That's crazy. No, I ain't
Right.
looking. You look. Is she's still over there? What is she doing? Isn't that's creep? That's weird. Where's her
Yeah.
parents? I swear the girl must be like,
Yeah.
I don't
Obviously
know.
she has daddy issues, of course.
She
That's
does.
what it is. Yeah,
I could-
totally.
Yeah.
Right.
Whoa. Ladies, it is actually in our head. It's not, I made a reference to this at work, actually. There was a gal, I'm going to tell on myself for a minute. So honey, bear with me. All right. But there was a gal at work who was she walked down the hall in, they're like yoga pants. Do you know what I'm talking about? These workout pants.
Yeah.
And I actually got really pissed off. I got really upset. I was talking to a coworker and she walked by and like, what the heck? Whoa. And I did a double take because it was right there. Okay. And my coworker kind of looking at me and kind of giggled a little bit. And I was like, no, you know what? That really pisses me off. Ladies, this is real. So go with me and understand your husband's had to deal with this. Okay. I said, that really upsets me. I said, I am not a chauvinistic guy. I love my wife. I would never cheat on her. I don't consider myself a pig. I'm not that guy. I said, but unfortunately, some gal chooses to wear clothing to show parts of herself off on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it forces me into a very precarious and potentially dangerous position, depending upon who else may be around, where I noticed that. Unfortunately, yes, I did. I had to look twice because I'm like, what the hell? Wait, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And now I'm in a precarious position where I feel like I'm struggling with this idea of being a good person and somebody else perceiving me as a pig because I had absolutely no control over seeing what just happened. It just was in front of me. And that's not my fault. And guys out there, it is not your fault.
Right.
And Shanti actually explains that in great detail, even the physiology of the brain in detail. Sorry, I keep talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, you keep talking. Women have to understand that when a guy looks, when we see them, if we're with you, and most men will immediately they'll see that other woman, and then they avert their eyes very, very quickly. And you have to understand that when men are doing that, they realize it's like, wow, these are things that grab our attention, and then we see it and we have to pull away because we're trying to honor you in the process. Yeah, we don't want you to see us doing that, but we can't help but look, just even in that brief moment. And you know what, many times this has happened to me, I'm sure it's happened with you, where I'll notice a woman like that, but I'm not even sexually attracted to her, but I still can't help but notice.
No, it's absolutely, it's a visual response.
Right.
Or, excuse me, it's a mental response to a visual image.
You're right. So it happens to me a lot. And since I've been reading this, I've been paying more attention to what I would either find sexually attractive versus not sexually attractive. Most of the time, I don't necessarily find them sexually attractive. But they're standing out. It's like, you might as well be wearing a neon sign flashing, look here. Mm-hmm. So I can't help but look. And then it's like, oh, what am I doing? Looking away. But the other thing that Shanti goes into, and which is what I said at the beginning of this, is that we do have this whole file cabinet in the back of our heads of all these images. And most men have these images that go back years. In fact, many men have these images locked away in their brains that go back to teenage years, even of girls they were, had crushes on when they were in high school. Now, when you compound that with how sexualized our society is, you turn on the TV, watch any movie, and you're inundated with sexual images all the time. It's like, holy crap. What's terrible about that, and I don't know about you, but what's terrible about that is sometimes these images just pop in your head. And it's like, I'm driving down the road and all of a sudden it's like ass right in the face. It's like, where'd that come from? Like, wait, what? I wasn't even trying to think about that. I was trying to think about the bill I had to pay, and all of a sudden I got tits in my face. It's like, I don't know where that come from. Yeah. I'm sorry to be crude there, but I'm trying to make a point where we're not always trying to dig up these images, but when we see them, they kind of get like plastered and solidified and cemented into the backs of our brains, and these images just they pop up into our mental space, right? And we're constantly like, it's like flies, and
it's like whack-a-mole. They pop up, you mock them down, you're like, no, I'm not thinking about you.
Away,
and then they pop, knock it off. I'm trying to have a conversation with my wife. And unfortunately, ladies, that happens too. So the old idea that men think about sex like 10,000 times a day, that's true, but that's not because they're actively thinking about it. Example, the song Every Rose Has Its Thorn comes on. I think about a rose. I remember the girl I first gave a rose to, boom, boobs pop in my face. I mean, that just happens. It's not a choice. It's not because I'm trying to actively think about it. And Lucy's laughing, he's like falling out of his chair, like a lot of guys out there are, because this happens to every guy all the time.
Yeah.
And so this happens even in conversations with our wives, the weirdest things.
Hot wings, salsa, legs. Great crap. Get out of my head, right?
I hear the commercial come on TV. Domingo, sábado, and I think of the chick in there's always a hot Latina chick on Telemundo. Always. And every time. That's why I can't watch soccer. That's one of the 100,000 reasons is because there's usually a Spanish announcer. I'm over to Telemundo. Bingo. Here's the weather with the really hot chick telling me about how much rain they're going to get in the South. And it just happens all the time. And we can't help that. That's not our fault. Images that we see actually, and especially sexual ones, light up the amygdala in our brain, just like, ladies, when you experience an emotional response, all of those
Right.
things light up in the female brain. The men's brain's wired differently. It's visual,
Oh,
extremely visual.
yeah. Yeah.
Women, if you ask your husband, remember we were talking about last night? I guarantee you he just had a sexual thought. It just happened
It just
because he
happens.
thought about last night. He jumped into
Right.
bed. You were there. Whenever that was, that it was great, boom, he was right there.
Right.
And you're like, "Do you remember what that was?" And he goes, "Wait, hold on." Oh, yeah. Well, no, what were we talking about? He had a moment. It just happened. It's not his fault, but that's men's brains are
Yeah.
that way. Sorry.
And often it's very intrusive.
It's incredibly annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredibly annoying. All right.
And ladies, please, for the love of God, when you're trying to have a serious conversation with a guy, do not adjust your clothing. Please do not adjust your clothing. I'm warning you. This is not a guy's fault, and this is a damn trap for a man. And married, faithful men struggle with this kind of stuff all the time because it's incredibly intrusive. You cannot have a conversation and fix your blouse or tuck it in behind because bingo, his attention just went everywhere you didn't want and everywhere he didn't want to. He
Yeah.
didn't want that, but it happens.
Right. The biggest thing here is the biggest takeaway I think for women to at least walk away from this section in a positive way is that, and I mentioned it briefly earlier, but that is we can see a beautiful woman and not have a sexual desire toward that woman. That happens to me a lot, where I see a woman and I think, wow, she's really pretty. And that's where it ends. It ends at that moment.
Yep.
It doesn't go beyond that. I'm not thinking about, having sex with her. I don't want to have sex with her because I know that there's every guy does this. We look at somebody and go, wow, she's really pretty, but she's probably messed up.
Well, and beyond that, ladies, you know what? It's not possible for a guy to not notice a pretty lady in a crowded room.
Right. But
He
we,
will,
but
not by
we,
his choice, but
right.
that doesn't mean he is going to compare you to her or her to you.
Correct.
That doesn't mean that he wants her and doesn't want you. That doesn't mean he even goes through 101,000 mental images of what that might be like should he ever get it.
Right.
That's not where it's at. It's simply what the whole point that Shanti, I think, brings up in this book is to recognize that men are not capable of not looking, but recognize, ladies, that they struggle with that hardwired part of their brain more than you do.
Yeah.
So let them struggle and get that out. And trust me, they'll be right there with you. Don't
Yeah.
browbeat them for noticing the pretty lady in the red dress. All of my Matrix fans out there, that's exactly what we're talking about. You notice the pretty woman in the red dress.
Correct. And there are a lot of women, and I'm not saying every woman, but there are a lot of women who do put on the red dress because they want to be noticed.
Sure.
And you're just appealing right to the wiring in our brains. You're drawing that attention, you're drawing our eye, but we know that we're with you, and we know that we want to be with our spouse. We want to be with that woman that we love, and we love you with all of your imperfections, and we don't want to go and have sex with that one. Yeah, she's
No.
pretty, but she's not you. That's what you have to. That's the big thing that I want
Bingo.
women to
There you
understand
go.
is, yes, I may see somebody and go, wow, she's really pretty, but you know what? She's not you. I want to have sex with you. I don't want to have sex with her.
Right.
I don't want to have sex with her. Even if she were to throw it at me, and I don't want that. I want you. I chose you, and I didn't choose her, and I have no desire to pursue that, and I have no desire to think about that.
Right.
At all.
Right. And men, what I don't think men really understand or believe that women, this is so foreign to women. And I think actually Shanti actually relayed a story where she and her husband Jeff were actually having a conversation about this, because her husband couldn't wrap his head around the idea that women are not visual. There's no images of Tom Cruise or Sean Connery or whoever, I don't know, whoever the hot Ryan Reynolds. There you go. I'll throw that one out for my wife's benefit. That image doesn't just pop up in you guys' head, over the next 2 weeks after seeing him in a movie where he takes his shirt off or God knows what.
Right.
For a guy, without any control or any want or any desire, I don't care how strong-willed the guy is, those images pop up. If I see Jennifer Aniston in, I don't care, even a tube top, I'm going to have that image pop up in my head probably a good 20 times in the next week. That's not because it's by choice. It's just there. And
yeah. So don't hate us for what happens in our brains automatically.
Yeah.
Don't be mad at us if we happen to avert our eyes. I mean, talk to your man. And if it bothers you, let him know that it bothers you. And I guarantee you, the good men out there are going to be averting their eyes. They're not going to be, they might notice really quick and they're going to pull away because they want to honor you and not be staring at her.
Yeah.
And if you see that your man is actually doing that, where he looks and then looks away really quick, he's doing it because of you. If you weren't there, if your relationship didn't exist, he would continue to stare.
Sure.
But because he's in a relationship with you, he doesn't want to be doing that. And so acknowledge that and at least let him know that you appreciate that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about romance.
All right, let's talk about romance.
Because what one of the things that Shanti Feldon discovered was that men actually do want romance.
Yes. The misconception is that men are generally unromantic.
Right.
Where in reality, men really appreciate romance, but they're kind of afraid of it.
Right. 84% of men polled said that they desire romance. 84%.
That's crazy.
That's huge. That's a huge amount. Remember, thousands of men took this survey, and 84% of men said, yeah, very much so that they want romance. Here's the interesting thing. And I've been in similar situations. We talked about, again, before in the last episode, how we don't really know what we're faking it most of the time. We're trying things out. And we're faking it till we make it in many respects, in a lot of areas of our lives. One of the things that really affects men deeply, I felt this way. This has happened to me in the past. But when men try to be romantic, and then you criticize something that we were doing that we were putting a lot of energy and thought process into, if it doesn't live up to your expectations, that just wounds us to the core. And then guess what happens? We don't want to try again. Mm-hmm. And I've been in this situation where I won't go into all the details of the planning, but I remember one year for Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day, it has a way of kind of catching up with a lot of us. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, it's in 2 days. What am I going to do? And, and now you can't get a reservation anywhere and everything's filled up. And what am I, and so I went through, for a couple of days agonizing and trying to plan something and trying to figure out something that was simple and racking my brain about what can I do now? Cause it's kind of late and I was still 2 days away. So, but for 2 days, I'm spending a lot of energy for one person in my life to do something that is romantic and for her. And then when I executed it, she sat there and was like, so this is it?
Oh.
And I didn't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, screw you then. That was my reaction. I didn't say it. I didn't say that, but that's how I felt, right? Inside, I felt, well, then piss off. I'm not going to do this anymore. If I'm going to, if I'm going to bust my ass and try to think about something and do something that I think is special for you, and you can't even see that what I was trying to do was for you, and you can't see that, and you're going to just ridicule that or criticize that, then I don't want to do anything again for you.
Right.
And most men feel that way. Most
Yeah.
men feel that way. So if you criticize them or you're like, that's it. And if and then if you wonder why your boyfriend or why your husband stops trying to be romantic with you, you probably torpedoed it.
Well, and again, we're talking about those men who really want to be in those relationships with their
Yes.
wives, spouses. I'm not talking about all the dirtbags out there. Because you know what? There's a whole handful of them that go, I don't believe in Valentine's Day or this or
Sure.
that, and
I'm not
so
talking
to
about
hell
those
with that.
guys.
I don't care about those guys. And
Talking
neither
about
should
watermelons,
you, ladies.
I
I'm
didn't
not-
mention the mangoes.
So
We still like the mangoes.
what I think was actually really interesting in me thinking about this was, ladies, the end product, whatever that is that we give you, here you go, honey. Even if it's poop, we're proud of it. And I guarantee you, you have no idea the mental and emotional turmoil that your man has gone through for a while to get whatever that is to you. And unfortunately, guys, I know most of the guys out there, we spend so much time and energy trying to figure out. It's like a Rubik's Cube. We got to figure out what the perfect gift is, what the perfect moment is, what the perfect item is that we could pass to you to elicit the emotional response and romantic response we're looking for. Ladies, way back when we first started our courtship of you, we were very,
Yeah, I caught that, by the way.
I don't know what you're talking about. We were very involved, and things we would do, whether it was we get you some flowers and we get a little food, and we go to the park and we sit out under the stars and we talk and we just where all of that stuff is very romantic and eliciting a lot of emotional response. I guarantee you, from that moment onward, we're trying to duplicate it because we loved it just as much as you did.
Right.
Unfortunately, you're always having to up the bar a little bit just to try and get that same thing. And
what have you done for me lately?
Right. 20 some odd years later, we're out of ideas, but we
Right.
still try and we struggle with that all the time. So
Yeah.
God forbid if on a Valentine's Day we show up with, a Happy Meal and, honey, I really fucking tried. Happy Valentine's Day. And he's got that look of defeat on his face. It's probably because the 900 other things he tried and everything else he had did not come together for God knows whatever reason. I guarantee you it's not because he doesn't want it. And that's what I think ladies miss. We want it. Whether it's some guys genuinely don't know how, or they're not sure what really is going to mean something to you, so they do the best thing that they can and try and doing something that they like. This is a good place for that. Really needs to have open dialogue way before Valentine's and anniversary. And it's not about, hey honey, your anniversary is coming up, what do you want? Or Valentine's Day, what material thing can I go get you? It's about having conversation all the time with your spouse and your loved one about what kind of things you really enjoy. Maybe what kind of things you used to do that you really miss. And don't be surprised if you mention one night, you're like, man, do you remember that one time where we sat at the park and talked under the stars? And for Valentine's Day, next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock at night and you're out into the park and the cops are kicking you out because, that's what he thought. He was trying to be romantic. This is the kind of mental gymnastics that men go through, trying to find those ways to elicit that genuine response from you, because we really do want that.
Well, and
Really.
one thing to keep in mind is that most men want to play with their wife and their spouse. And by that, it's
No,
Let me
no.
let me explain.
Okay,
Let me
I'm sorry.
let me explain. So men like to there are a lot of men who want to go do guy things, but they want to do it with you. That men interpret you going with them and doing those kind of guy things, whether it's going to the shooting range or going fishing or going to the gun show or something. They want to be with you. And so for a man, they're yeah, you know what, you're going and doing something that the guy likes to do. And I'm not saying that every single thing that a guy should be doing is whatever he wants to do. I'm not saying that. I'm trying to let women know that you have to tell your guy what you wanted, what you like, and that helps. That goes a long way. Like what Jason was just saying, it's tremendous if you can articulate what you think is romantic, and you give him those ideas. Believe me, he's going to remember those things and he's going to want to do those things. But then also remember that it's not always about you either. This is a relationship that's a two-way street, and he wants to go do things that he wants to do that he finds romantic. And guess what? That might be going and watching that action movie that he's been waiting to come out, and he wants to be there with you. Yeah, he knows you don't like action films, but guess what? He took you to that candlelight dinner last month, and now the movie's coming out and he thinks, well, let's go do what I want to go do, and he wants to take you. He wants to be with you. So men often interpret a romantic night for them is doing those things and playing with you, going out and doing something that he enjoys. This is another example where I had something thrown in my face. My friends know that I'm a big gamer. I play video games. I like all those kinds of stuff. I wanted to do something that I thought would be fun and engaging, and I thought it would be entertaining for the two of us, and we would have good conversation while we're doing it. So I went to a game store and I got a couple of little 2-player games, that were different than just chess and checkers. And it was like 2-player games. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to maybe pick her up and go to Starbucks, get a coffee or something, or, go get pie and play a game, and we can laugh and have fun and, and just kind of experience that time together. And you know what? Why the hell would I want to go do that? Screw you. I'll get rid of the games. I'm going in the trash bin now. Piss off. I don't want to go and do that with you anymore. And so there was what I thought would have been a very nice time. I didn't want to do it every single time, but she didn't, she threw it right. And I was like, well, then to hell with you then. I didn't say that, but that's what, that's how I felt. And that was my initial reaction. And again, if you don't want to do those things that I think are going to be romantic, and I'm trying to find some things, well, then it's not going to happen.
Yep. And this was, I'll use the going fishing example. This is a really easy one, I think, for ladies and men to relate to. So, all right, husband and wife get up for the day. They go fishing together. He takes her with him, and they go out fishing. And they come back. She goes and tells her friends. She goes, well, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, my husband wanted to go fishing on Saturday, so we went and we got up really early, and I was out there, and it was really hot, and I hate fishing, but we caught fish, and I don't even like fish, and I got worm guts and dirt underneath my fingers and this stuff, and I'm out there, and I had to put sunscreen on all day, and we got overheated, and we caught fish, and I smelled like fish, and the first thing I had to do was come home, take a shower, and I just wanted to go to bed. I was so tired. It sucked. Man tells his friends, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, it was great. I've been thinking for a while that my wife and I don't ever get the chance to spend any time together or do anything just us. We're always at the house. We're always doing something. We're tied to work. I said, screw it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get us out away where our cell phones don't work and it's just us. So I said, hey, honey, we're going to go fishing. She's been fishing with me a couple times and it would be great. So we got us up. We went out. It was just us two. We were on the boat. We talked. We bullshit. We caught some fish, but it wasn't really what it was about. It was just about us being out there. It got kind of hot, so we didn't stay out there all day. But you know what? Man, I needed that. It was great. It was just the two of us. We haven't spent time just the two of us together like that for a while.
Yeah.
Ladies, that's how your guy thinks. That's in his mind, he's being essentially, I know that sounds hard to believe, but romantic. He's he's sacrificing everything else. He wants to spend the day with you.
Right.
And instead of looking at that, if you bring up all just the negative stuff, smelling like fish, worm guts under your fingers, you're hot, you're tired, you get sunscreen, you didn't want to do anything, and it
You
sucked.
missed the point.
You missed it all.
You missed it completely.
And if he hears that, well, then fuck, why do I even try? Screw it. I might as well just go fishing by myself. I'll actually go out and really fish.
Right.
I mean, I spent the whole damn day untangling your line and messing with your bobber and showing you how to tie a swivel, which didn't work. And I mean, I could focus on all that stuff, but I was just happy to be out with you.
Right. Right.
So just take a moment to look at it from the other perspective. And guys, in all fairness, maybe fishing isn't really romantic. Is it something that might be fun for you guys to do together? Yes, if she wants to be a part of that. If she doesn't, not the choice for activities.
Right. So let's talk about the last one here.
Go.
And this one is
This
dangerous.
one's very
territory.
touchy. Yeah,
This one's
I'm
very
gonna let you
dangerous.
take this one. I'm just gonna sit back.
Okay. Put my little floaties onto my arm so I don't
Yeah,
drown.
you put your water weight. No, I'll let you. I won't let you drown entirely.
entirely.
But
you're gonna
I'm
watch me
gonna-
flail
I'm
around.
gonna
for a
enjoy
while.
watching you struggle for a little bit.
Okay. So on this one, and Shanti even sets the stage that this one is touchy. She understands that this one is pretty touchy. But ladies, your appearance matters. It does. Your appearance matters. Yeah.
Mic drop. And
Mic
I'm
drop.
out. It's
Now-
been real, guys.
But here's the thing. It doesn't mean you have to be the epitome of beauty. It doesn't mean you have to be a size 2. It doesn't mean you have to even lose weight. What it means is we want to be with somebody who at least cares about what they look like when they're with us. You may be a little overweight. You may be a lot overweight. But you know what? If you wear clothes that fit your body and you take a little bit of time to maybe put a little bit of makeup on when you're going to go out for dinner, and you don't look like you just walked out of Walmart. We all know what that, when I say that, right? We've all seen the horrid pictures that happen in Walmart, right? We don't, as guys, we don't want to, you have to understand, we love going out into public with you when you look beautiful on our arm. We don't expect you to be perfect. Hell, in fact, we don't even want you to be perfect. I one time read this story. I thought it was really hard. I thought it was very touching. A wife wanted to do something really special for her husband, and so she had these she knew a photographer, and she had some very, very classy black and white photos of her where she was, wearing some lingerie or whatever. And I'm sure a lot of women have wanted to do that for their husbands, and it was a very nice picture shoot. And when she had the pictures touched up, in Photoshop, and made her look better than what she was. And when she gave the pictures to her husband, he was actually shocked. And he said, but this isn't you. You covered up all of the blemishes and you covered up everything. And she said, well, I wanted to get rid of all of my stretch marks and those sorts of things. And he said, yeah, but honey, those stretch marks, you got those bearing my children.
Mm-hmm.
And you covered up the woman that I actually love.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not asking you to be, a centerfold Playboy model. We just want you to look like you did give a damn.
Right.
I mean, nothing is more frustrating for a guy who watches his spouse, his wife, eat bags of potato chips day in and day out and not give a crap about how she looks. And just watch her put 50 pounds on and then watch her try to squeeze into clothes that don't fit her anymore. Or, you know, she goes to the grocery store in pajamas with him. We want the world to recognize the beauty that we see in you.
Right.
And so when you just say, screw it, I don't give a crap what I look like, and you embrace looking like a bag of ass, that affects us. It affects us tremendously, psychologically and emotionally. We're not asking you to lose weight. We're not asking you to be the epitome of health or the beauty or all that kind of stuff. We want you to recognize the beauty that we see in you, and just at least care that you want to be around us. Go ahead.
Phew. This is not about weight, ladies. This has nothing to do with weight. Now, if you're out there listening to me and you're 500 pounds, okay, it has to do with weight for you, okay? but but no, we're not talking to those men or women either.
Oh, that would hurt.
Sorry,
Oh.
I got him right as he was drinking the last bit of his Coke.
Oh my God, that hurt.
This is not about weight. This is not men out there saying, ladies, we want you to be skinny, because that's
Right.
not it.
Right.
There was, you know, when you see even a fairly, we'll just say a larger woman who looks like she's actually taking care of herself. She has poise. She has class in her presentation and how that's the epitome of what I call big is beautiful, because big is can still be very beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy going to, you know, the dress up ballroom kind of gown events. Not that I necessarily care to get in my tux and wear all that, but getting dressed up. When my wife, and she is absolutely not the same size she was when we first got together, but she is a gorgeous woman. And when my wife puts on that evening gown and gets dressed up, and I hold out my arm,
You feel pride.
Oh my gosh. I'm walking on cloud 9. And I love, and I don't want to use the term parading her around, but I love presenting her around a room. She glows.
And we want other men to at least to look at us and say, wow, you did good.
I get that.
You did good.
Good on you, brother. I get it's. When she glows, I shine.
Of course. And if you rolled into that environment, into that ballroom, and with a woman who looks like a bag of ass with rollers in her hair and
her give up pants on,
and give up pants and you know, and slippers, you're gonna feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
As guys, we feel embarrassed, and you know, and for women who go, he needs to love me and blah 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 blah. We do love you.
He does love you.
We want you to look good. We want. There's nothing wrong with wanting you to look as beautiful as we believe you are, as we see you. There's nothing wrong with us wanting the world to see what we see in you.
Yeah.
And we talked about earlier how it's a natural reaction for men to notice a pretty woman. I notice women that are not size 2. I notice women that are overweight, but I'm noticing them because what have they done? They've done their hair well. Their makeup is done well. They're wearing clothes that fit their bodies and accentuate their curves. And you just said, overweight women can look really beautiful.
Yes.
When they dress appropriately and they acknowledge that, they're beautiful. And I noticed that. I noticed those women right away, and I'm like, wow, she's really pretty.
Yep.
I see that all the time. So we see it not only just in the size 2 women, but in the size, you know, I'm not going to say it.
The other sized women.
The other sized women, right?
And
we see that beauty. We see it.
that's the thing. I really don't believe that most men are really attracted to the size 2 ladies. I really don't.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
some guys
ladies,
are, but
understand this. What we just talked about earlier about men are visual, the size 2 ladies are the ones that are always flashed in our face.
yeah,
They're the
yeah,
ones on TV. They're the
right,
ones on in the commercials and in the magazines and on the billboards and on the this and on the that and on the everywhere.
yeah,
That's what gets flashed in our face. So yes, it catches our attention, but
right,
that's not what we're looking for. So
right,
again, this is not about wives, girlfriends, ladies out there. We're not saying get your butt on the treadmill and lose 50 pounds and be miserable, because trust me, miserable is not attractive.
right.
What we're saying is have pride in yourselves and in your body, because when you are prideful, we are proud of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Amen.
when you feel sexy, we are sexually attracted to you. It's
Right.
the same.
Yeah.
So that's what that's about.
So let's wrap this whole series up with the final question. So there was a really interesting question, and this is a really good segue into it. During the survey, they asked, what was the question? What is the one thing? So this, and I thought this was beautiful. I really thought this was beautiful. Uh, it was an open-ended question that they asked men who took the survey, and it was, what is the one thing that you wish your wife, significant other knew, but you feel you can't explain to her or tell her? The overwhelming response to this question was simply this, and that is how much I love her.
Oh yeah. Easy.
And
Easy.
most women just don't. We tell them, we tell you all the time that we love you, but we never feel, as men, we never feel like we can adequately express just how much we do love you. And what I think a lot of women um, don't understand is when a man loves a woman, there's a song about it. When a man loves a woman, go listen to that song. He will, what is, like, there's like I don't even know the exact lyrics, right? But it's like,
Are you
and he will sleep in the pouring rain for you, right?
Yep.
We will crawl through glass on fire for you. And we can't articulate exactly that level of emotion to you strong enough for you to truly understand that we will do those things when we love you. And all we
Well,
can really do is say, honey, I love you, or bring you flowers now and then. But that's a
it's
fraction of what we're trying to convey.
well, and it's not just I think the biggest key really here is it's not what we will do for you. It's what
Correct.
we do for you that right now that we know you don't see and
Right.
we know you can never truly understand. I think I don't think I'm alone in saying my wife in one way, shape, or form consumes my thoughts, emotions, and daily life every day.
Right.
She does. Everything I do, there is an aspect of my wife involved in it. When I'm at work, if I'm doing the best job I can, it's because I know I'm fulfilling my provider role and I'm bringing home so that I can provide for my wife. If I do something stupid, it's the fear and the inadequacy in that moment that may cost me my job and also hurt the provider feeling that will be bad for my wife. If I'm thinking about going home and on my way home stopping to get groceries, it's so that I know that my wife won't have to, and I'm doing that for my wife. It is every single thing in every part of the day. And if it's not because I feel I have to,
Because you want to.
ladies, wives, honey, it's because I love you so much. I want to do all of those things that I do every single day for you because I love you.
And the other thing, the other side to that is, when a man truly loves a woman that much, the thing that he wants to do is, we think that we're failures all the time, and we're constantly battling the fact that we're going to fail, and we don't. And one of the things that we're always striving to do is when we love a woman so much, all we want to do is to be better for her so we can finally feel like we deserve her.
Yeah.
And we're constantly just trying, how do I get better so that I can truly deserve to be with her and call, and so she's proud of me. We want you to be proud of us. And when we love you that much, all we're trying to do is prove to you and show you, and not even prove, it's not about proving my love to anybody. It's trying to be better for you and to show you how much you actually mean
Right.
to me.
Right. So when we stop home and we get home early and we hit the grocery store on the way home and you go, wow, you did that? Oh, thank you so much. You didn't get milk? Oh, I forgot. Well, I guess I'll just go. I'll go get it. We need it for the kids tomorrow. Bam! Right in the balls.
Right in the balls. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah. All right.
Well, that was exciting.
Yeah. We know how to close them out.
Right?
So now we're gonna ship. So we finished. So that's the For Women Only. I recommend that everybody pick up the book and give it a shot. And it's written to women about how men think and what men want. But I highly encourage men to read it too, because you'll probably realize, like I have, and you're reading it right now, and I think like you have, that wow, we're actually normal. You think, I'm sure a lot of men have felt this way, where you're thinking, yeah, I shouldn't be this way, and I don't know why I'm thinking this way or why I'm feeling this thing. It's normal, and once you recognize that you're normal, the whole world seems to kind of open up about your relationship, and now you have a better understanding of how to approach those troubled times or those issues that you might be experiencing with your wife, and you now have the ability to communicate them in a way that she's probably going to be able to understand. So I recommend everybody go check out the book, pick it up. It's on Kindle. You can get a hard copy of it if you want to be able to make notes and scribble notes on it and all that kind of good stuff. But definitely go pick it up. And we're going to be talking about the second book next week. We're going to start next week, and we're going to be unpacking women's heads and what goes on in the minds of women during relationships. So, as a guy, I learned a lot.
Yep. And so for any couples out there listening, get these books. I'm not even going to suggest it. I'm going to tell you, get them.
Just get them. Yeah.
Just get them. My wife and I are reading these together. I am reading the For Women Only book right now. I know this sounds ridiculous, but even in the introduction, Shanti actually does recommend that you do this, and I know now why. Ladies, start with the For Men Only. Read them simultaneously, and when you're done, switch books. If nothing else, this will allow you a basis of understanding and a good place for you and your spouse to be able to have meaningful, communicative conversation. And I'm telling you, it's only a benefit.
And then talk about them. Ask them.
And they're short. They're not long books.
They're not long books at all. They read really quickly, but talk about them and ask and say, hey, do you really feel this way? Tell me. And be open. Just be open-minded about it. And you'd probably be surprised by how much you'll learn about your spouse and how much more value and appreciation you'll get out of your relationship, because you'll know that you're just normal, and you just need to figure out a way to communicate about these things.
If nothing else, I've already learned all of these things seem overwhelmingly obvious to me because I'm a guy.
Right.
But obviously they're not apparent to my wife.
Right.
Which allows me in the heat of the moment, and this has already happened a lot, where she's done something or said something or made a comment or whatever. And my first reaction would normally have been to get upset or pissed off. I've been able to stop myself and say, she doesn't understand yet why I'm about ready to get upset.
Right.
So maybe I shouldn't get upset yet.
Yes.
And we should talk about why this upsets me.
Right.
So it's incredibly helpful. I highly recommend it to any couple out there, whether you're struggling or not.
Or not. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's worth your
Definitely.
time.
So it'll be really interesting getting into the second book next week. As always, you can get all of our stuff off of our website at fusionunderground.net. You can also find us on Facebook at AZ Fusion Underground. Good stuff. So all of our podcasts, everything is out there. You'll find links to everything. And what if you have just a little podcast listener on your phone, just do a search for Fusion Underground. We pop up, be able to subscribe and be able to catch all of our shows. For Jason Moret, I'm Manuel Ramirez. You've been listening to the Fusion Underground. Peace, we're late.
Have a good night.